God, part of me just misses the creepy now recording voice for from Jitsi. Sometimes I just miss it, But in a way, anyone who's watching this, you didn't tune in to listen to me compare video platforms against each other. You're probably tuned in because you saw that this game was ran and arranged through the Gauntlet, which is a community on the internet that gets together and plays tabletop role-playing games online. Find all the stuff the Gauntlet does at gauntlet-rpg.com. We find just all sorts of stuff about tabletop role-playing games, mostly indie games, story games, PBTA, OSR, that kind of stuff. Stuff on like blogs or forums. There is a podcast network as well. If I have to recommend a recent episode of the Gauntlet's podcast network, Plus One Forward, which is most normally about Power by the Apocalypse games, did an episode about playing role-playing games in this social distancing age that we have found ourselves in. So playing stuff like one-on-one games or play-by-post stuff, or just how to situate yourself online. Check that out. There's also the monthly zine that Gauntlet does, which is called Codex, which usually contains supplements to existing games and original games in itself. And another thing that I don't think I've ever shouted out in these intros, if you are just dipping your toes into online gaming, and you found a game in some group, and a group to like play them on, and you're thinking, oh, do I have to get on Roll20 to like figure out character sheets or whatnot? How do you do that? I want to shout out that the Gauntlet has a massive play aids folder for just a smorgasbord of games. That'll make life certainly a lot easier for sure. Lots of like different games from stuff like Psyrun or Monster Hearts or all that kind of stuff. I'll put a link down below for anyone who wants to check that out. Um, yeah, so that's all the stuff from Gauntlet. But of course, there is the Hangouts calendar through which all the games that are ran through the Gauntlet are arranged, including this one. This one specifically is called Deep Morphean Transmissions. It's a game by Emmy Allen, who folks might know under the label Dying Stylishly Games. You might remember her for such works sorry, as The Guardians of Yin or the Stygian Library, or the most recent game that she put out. It's called Esoteric Enterprises. I'll put a link down below to all her stuff. This one is, well, this was another one of the stuff that the games that she put out last year. And I'll basically just go through the cats of this game. So Deep Morphean Transmissions is a game about the agents of the quote unquote Morpheus agency who have been trying to chart out this weird, expansive dreamscape that's kind of like only accessible through dreams from the waking world. Players will be basically the agents of that agency who are trying to traverse this strange, kind of like unknowable, sort of weird, dreamy, weeny, timey-wimey place, and trying to find a foothold amidst everything else that's in there, which is, walking nightmares, mimetic diseases, or rival agencies, extra dimensional entities, rival agencies ran by extra dimensional entities, all sorts. Um, and the Morpheus agency is one such player trying to make it big in this vast ocean of holy Christ, what the heck is going on? Um, Basically, if you think like stuff like Paprika or the 39 Steps, or a weirder take on Inception, specifically if you're thinking role-playing games, you're thinking of maybe a classic like Jared Sorensen's Lacuna, which this one is like heavily kind of based on. That's kind of like the predecessor to Deep Morphean Transmission. So yeah, agents trying to cope is kind of like the content. So the aim is basically players are trying to like uh, this is basically their job. They're playing agents who their job is to carry out the agency sort of objectives and missions, and kind of like explore this place and try to like figure it out. It's and just trying to get through adversity. This is very much a case um, of diving into a dungeon, except the dungeon is a weird, dreamy, weemy landscape of squids in suits, or clockwork doppelgangers who look like, I don't know, your best friend's dog or something like that. But it's a trick. It's not your best friend's dog. It's a robot. Um, that sort of thing. Basically, like it is a very specific. It's kind of like a specific story of employees trying to like get through a really tough workplace, and the workplace is the dreamscape. Um, so that's fun. That's kind of like the aim. The tone is kind of like something I do want to talk with the players a bit. This is kind of pitched in a more horror vein, for sure. Like the blurbs all about, agents kind of like getting injuries or whatnot. So or facing with extra dimensional entities. But you know, there is that's kind of like the default. It's kind of like the base. And obviously, there's room to go into weirder Gonzo stuff for sure. I think I like the baseline being that you're all from a fairly normal agency, and you're gonna be dumped into a place that could start normal but end up weird. And there are mechanics that push like that. And we had this talk like through emails and whatnot on like what kind of like what's like what's comfortable for everyone, but I do want to have it like out in the open, like what's the kind of like just like sort of the baseline tone, and we can work from there. So yeah, I was thinking like definitely like horror kind, but we're not gonna linger, we're not gonna like focus on it too much. More it's less about the horrible stuff that's happening and more like just the lots of stuff that's happening is kind of like what I'm thinking. um how does that sound to folks here?
I'm a bit worried that the examples that you gave were all more steering towards the gonzo, like the robot and the neighbor's dog. I think from the mechanics, with the heart rate, there should be some kind of tension, and also like if it's surreal, then I would prefer the surreal bit to be juxtaposed to some kind of realism. So if everything is weird, then it's kind of pointless.
As a counterpoint, if everything is real, why are we going into the dreamscape?
Because that's our job.
But like, why is it different than just being in the world?
Because like there is access through there that's like it is different. Like it starts real enough, especially in the layer you're in. Like there is kind of like there is like a pattern. The deeper you go, definitely the more you're in contact with the weirder stuff. And part of what the agency is doing is like they're mapping out this dreamscape, for sure. Like I get like what horse means. Like it can be a bit silly or whatnot, but I'd say like we're definitely like not gonna go for like too silly. That's just the examples that came off the top of my head, which is like usually tend to go for the silly part. But like we're definitely gonna try to stick to like a horror sort of tone, but like we're not gonna like we're not gonna linger on like the most.
Personally, I would prefer absurd to silly. If you can get what I mean, it's fine if it's weird, but I'd rather have it be unsettling than silly, than just straight out silly.
For the record, my bubble pipe idea was inspired by Rene Magritte, one of the best surrealist painters, if not the best of all time. I'm all about surreal. I am intending to use his work and writing to break the space-time continuum in my spare time this summer.
Ooh. Good luck with that, actually.
Thank you.
We could do with some breaking of the space-time continuum.
Yeah, we really could.
What about yourself, Donna? Do you have some sense to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any real preference as to the exact flavor of the weirdness, so I'm happy to like follow the general trend of the group. But I think I do kind of like the idea of the weirdness being like a spice, something that definitely stands out, even if we all know it's a dreamscape and things don't work here the same way. It's got to be unusual, at least in the initial stages.
Yeah, I think I get the sense of like what the balance is. I think we can definitely go for that. Like it can get surreal, but like it's an unsettling kind of surreal. Like
And I mean, I ran Gardens of Yin, and I think that the general idea is probably the same, that the deeper you go, the more reality just dissolves. So if we're really deep in, then all kinds of strange and weird things can happen. But it's probably starting with like smaller, as Donna said, smaller elements of this weirdness, rather than everything is out of control from the get-go.
You love me a slow burn. Yeah, I think definitely like we're like we it works like if we build up to the weirdness for sure, and we have time. We have how many sessions we got an entire month to get to when things go weird. Cool. So I think everyone's kind of like on the same page with tone. I think we can work from there. I'll say again, Pearl, good luck with breaking the space-time continuum. I think we definitely need it. Okay, so I guess like the last thing I'll talk about is like the subject matter, which we kind of like talked about in tone. Like I guess I should ask, like, expectation wise, what are folks like expecting from these series of games? I've kind of give you like the elevator pitch of what you're doing. We created characters, but what are you all expecting from this game, basically? And I'll see if we can like roll all that stuff in, not just for today, but for like the whole run. And I'm gonna go by the order of the character keeper, if that's okay with folks. I'm gonna go reverse character keeper order. Just to keep you on your toes. Sorry. Sabine, what are you expecting from this game?
Damn, I was nodding sedately in the expectation that I would go last, and then you twist the... Yes, and that's exactly what I expect, right? Twists and turns and things seemingly mundane that then suddenly turn out to be not really. That was maybe a house, but it was not a house made of stone, but it was a house made of memories, and you can look at them and remember them and get drawn into them if you're not careful. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Traps like that. Yeah. But
I feel like I've had some dreams recently that feel like traps. Probably not the only one. Horace, what about yourself? What are you expecting from this game?
Well, I definitely hope for some interesting PC interactions, like agents, professional agents on their job and how they deal with stress. My touchstone for like the flavor of the game is probably Itas B, which is also like a surreal setting, or Lacuna, as you mentioned. So I picked the picture of this lady from the 60s, I guess, because that's my favorite timeline for like spy movies. So not that we're playing in the 60s, but I do hope that the spy agent stuff plays a role.
Yeah, this is, man, I wish I played Idris B. That's on my go-to list someday. Yeah, okay, go. I've had it in. Donna, what about yourself? What are you expecting from this game?
Because I know we're going to be spending a lot of time in the dreamscape, and that sounds cool. But I would love to see, kind of, when we get back to our, office lives, maybe, or real lives, a bit of that kind of paranoia or reality shifting going on back there. Maybe it's still in our minds, or maybe things are breaking down. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I do really want to like make space for outside mission stuff when you're just in the office or out in the waking world. That's definitely something I want to like be part of the game. Time to decompress. And having one more session than usual for a Gauntlet series will probably help us in that regard. And last but not least, Pearl, what are you expecting from this game?
I have no idea. I got let in off the wait list earlier this week, and it was sort of presented to me as like super bizarro and all these things, but I get the feeling that that's not where people are at. So I'm retooling my expectations to be in line with other people's, but I don't really know. I'm probably gonna try to get a bubble gun at some point because I'm stubborn. But at the beginning, I won't. I will just have a hat.
Okay, that's always a good thing to start off.
Very useful.
Okay, so I think we've got a good grasp of like of what everyone's expecting. First though, I do want to talk about the safety tools that we're using for this game, just to have it on open before we like jump in to the game proper. Remind folks that we have a tab for lines and veils. Lines are things that just won't be crossed, just won't show up in the fiction at all. Veils are things that can happen in fiction, but like we're not going to concentrate on it. Like we're not going to linger. We're not going to like just it can happen off screen or like fast forward through it. There's also like an extra tab for like stuff that people should like ask first before introducing that sort of thing into the fiction. Just as a general, it can be done, but like be sure to like flag it first that we're putting that in. And yeah, there's this nice romance table if people want to like flag their interest in having romance with PCs or NPCs, because there are people who live in that dreamscape. Somehow, I don't know how they do it, but they do. Also, shout out to Pocket for making this table that I stole from him. Sorry. Yeah, and we are using script change for our other safety tool. Basically, it's like it's a series of like commands that basically help us like again further like modulate or control our play as we're doing it. Actually, in the roll for party, the kind of like the important commands are there. Sorry. So I'll just go through them. There's rewind. When you rewind, you back up to a specific point in a scene and do the scene over again, avoiding whatever issue led to the rewind and trying a different way. Basically, like, you felt like you roll into a scene where you feel uncomfortable for any reason. Any reason is perfectly fine. It could be a name or a detail of the scene or just the scene itself. You can say you want to rewind that. I might ask some questions on what we're avoiding, but if something's being rewound, we'll respect that and we'll rewind and try something else. Another thing on the roll for party is pause. Basically, we can call pause at any time if you need a break for any reason, whether that's the scene is getting intense, or you might need to take a bio break, or if you want to like just pause and like you need some clarity or talk about what we're doing here in the game itself, or if there's an emergency you need to take care of, you need to step away from the table, we can pause at any time. And the other thing on that rover party is fast forward. When you fast forward, you fade to black and advance time as needed to avoid content elements of play. Basically, like if there's a sequence we don't need to linger on, or it's just not interesting to linger on, we can just fast forward. Then we get a sentence or two. So those are kind of like the main like commands, and obviously and the other one is kind of like resume, which is like return to normal play at any time. Basically that's kind of like called for by the one who introduced like the script change like in effect. It's called to resume, and then we'll go back to normal play. Okay, so now that we have all that set up, now we can go to the game itself. So the way I kind of want to introduce your characters is I want to get like a shot of each of them as they're coming into work. And as they're coming in, feel free to like add a detail of the offices of the Morpheus agency. It's kind of like, I guess it is kind of like I remember the first episode of Firefly, not the pilot one, had like, or Serenity had like that opening sequence where you kind of see everyone as they go through the ship itself. It's kind of like that, kind of like an opening, like TV montage of like, here are the characters that we're going to be focusing on as they come in and get ready for work. And as you're doing that, feel free to introduce your characters and their pronouns and like what their job is basically. And yeah, if anyone has an idea of what one might look like, I'll give you like a minute to think of that. And if you have an idea, feel free to jump in.
Can I have an idea, even though the minute's not up?
That's fine. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Or do you want me to be like really like, no. We have 42, 41, 40. No, go ahead.
I mean, that would be very Kafkaesque, right? If we started out like that.
It would be. It's like, are we stuck in Brazil all of a sudden? Like, what's happening? Brazil, the
Yeah.
Terry Gilliam
So-
movie. I should clarify it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that's what you meant. Okay, so hi audience, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns. I am going to play KATSUO, who uses the he, him pronouns. KATSUO is a tall, lanky man of Asian heritage. He's 28, which is important because of his heart rate. He has colored his hair blue and spiked it up with gel and stuff. It looks better in the dreamscape, actually, than in real life. In real life, it tends to flop a bit. He walks in, he's wearing casual dress like jeans and some sort of jacket, and you can see most people around him, they wear actual suits, and he draws eyebrows. The offices of the agency, I imagine there are lots of security alert posters on the wall, like be careful not to have eaten anything containing lots of high fat before entering the dreamscape. It will make your heart rate be, and there's a lot of technical stuff and pictures of molecules, and then there are security alert. Please be advised that there are other agencies looking into our secrets. Please do not respect the confidentiality agreements and stuff like that. Or please be alerted to put on the coffee machine, stuff like that. Do not feed the fish. And he's ignoring, he knows these things. It's not his first day, but I feel that everything looks kind of new still. And I stop before I go and define everything.
All right, that sounds really cool. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. Hi everyone, my name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him, and in the series I'll be playing Agent Snooker, who is a man of 29 years. He's white. He is, clean cut, square jawed, archetypical hero material, I guess, but not too bright. He's the security agent on the team. I think we see him first maybe throwing his gym bag into the boot of his car in the underground car park. And I think that light on the corner is definitely needs to be fixed. And somehow the local security team have not gotten to it yet, even though Snooker has been warning them for 5 days now about it. I think he's a little bit paranoid, or at least careful. He doesn't use the lift to get up to his floor. He uses the stairs. And he is definitely not the sort to feed the fish when he should not. So I think Katsuo's behavior of coddling these goldfish or whatever they are gets a little eye roll from him as he enters the office.
Hell yeah. Love to have a gym body in our team. All right, who wants to go next?
So I'm Horst, he, him. I play Barbara HOYT, Agent HOYT, and she comes with public transport, with a tram. And what we see is a lot of people in suits and hats, and it looks suspiciously 60s, I would say, early 60s. The people, the way they're clothed, everybody's smoking. And when before she enters the building, she fixes her makeup in the mirror, and when she comes in, she walks through the metal detector, or like the, I don't know, whatever it detects, and she walks up to the secretary and flirts with him for a minute, and then enters her office and sits behind a typewriter.
Man, this all sounds terribly mundane. Last but not the least, Pearl, would you kindly introduce yourself and your character?
I'm Pearl. I use she and her pronouns. I'm Agent BTR Bubbles, and I'm a little bit older than everyone else here, but I seem a lot older than everyone else here. I'm kind of hardened by years on the job, a little bit gruff. Always have a 5 o'clock shadow, even at 9 in the morning. Wear my hat at a jaunty angle, but if you were to call it jaunty, I would scowl at you. And your first view of Agent Bubbles is him at his desk, which is covered in like just stacks of paper that look really disorganized. He knows what they are. But some secretary comes in and they put like another stack along with a stamp that, you know, he would stamp off on them for something. And they like feebly sort of try to greet him, and he just sort of goes, "Nah," because he's not a morning person. And there are already so many papers. And so they quietly like leave the room, and he continues to gruffly sign and stamp things and drink lukewarm, bad office coffee.
God, I mean, with all those descriptions, nobody would know that like these folks kind of work in some place that could be misconstrued as somewhat cool. But yeah, well, could be going into places that are somewhat cool. Who knows? But I think here's kind of like one thing you all know is that like y'all know that kind of like there's a mission, there's like an incursion into the dreamscape coming up for yourselves, and I think the memo lands at your respective workplaces. It's kind of like this typed up sheet of paper, and all it kind of says is, there's the Morpheus agency, there's the address, here's the timestamp, the date, here's the name of the director, etc., etc. And I think it just says like priority mission briefing, conference room 2B. And I think like there's the time of when the briefing is, and I think I want to kind of bring you all together into that briefing room. What you'll find inside conference room 2B is that big round, big oblong table, and what looks like a hole on the ceiling, and some wires coming out, and you see there's like a box for a projector that hasn't been installed yet. The box is just there, and the old projector that used to be there is gone. Windows with like that kind of with coverings. There's like a stack of just more dirty files or whatnot. There's a whiteboard, and it's just a conference room. Like, what else could it be? And you come in there at the right time, and nobody's there except the four of y'all just sitting around.
Right-ish time.
Pretty much.
Or was it not 2B? I mean, it said 2B, but maybe it wasn't.
I'm looking around for some sort of intern, because this is a waste of time. We've been sent to this room with a hole in the ceiling and non-set-up projectors, and we have better things to do. So, I don't know if anybody's around, but if so, I'm probably going to blame them for the lack of preparation.
I mean,
Yeah,
Barbara.
you can totally blame me or Barbara.
Barbara is 25, so she's young enough to be an intern, and she has a clipboard, sits in the first row, and is ready to take notes.
Well, KATSUO is late, doesn't look like somebody who belongs in an agency and just sits somewhere in the back and puts his feet up somewhere where he probably should.
I'll give you all a moment
Does
to like.
anyone know what we're doing here? I have like 8 stacks of papers left to do by like lunch.
I'm just
I
sitting
think
here.
Snooker looks at you like you have posed a question he has never thought of in quite those terms. Like, what are we doing here? He obviously missed out on those nights at university because he didn't go. He nods, I think, very deeply.
I think like this.
What did they say we were coming here for? They sent us to 2B, right? Did anybody get a note on what the meeting was about?
You got a
Urgent
memo.
incursion.
Yeah. That sounds serious to me.
I guess.
Sure
As
does.
much as anything around here does. Oh, I've been here too long.
You're 33. I think
I
like.
feel the same way about regular life, and I'm 35, so I feel like 33 is not that far off.
All right, fair enough. I'm okay. Let's not talk about my age, or anyone's age. Honestly, it's not important. I think like there's probably like an awkward 5 more minutes. As Barbara's sitting there, ready to take notes. And everyone's just like, I think you hear like someone running down the corridor, and someone like bursts into the room, and this lady is kind of like, she's probably older than you, Bubbles, by like 1 year. She's kind of like has like fading kind of like red hair, and she's carrying like a sheaf of files, and she kind of bursts in. She's like, where have you all been? I've been waiting at conference room B2 for like. Did you hear the memo was urgent?
Yeah, the memo said 2B, not B2. You were on the wrong floor.
If you didn't know where we were, why did you come here?
Agent Day thought you all might be here, and I guess we can do the briefing here. And she kind of like she looks at the hole where the projector's meant to be, and it's like, oh God. And she's gonna close the door behind and kind of dumps these files on the table. She says, "All right, I'm Agent." Actually, hold on. Let me just roll on this table to see what her name is. Give me a second. Turner. Okay. Sorry, I have a list of agent names here. I'm Agent Turner. I'm one of the handlers for the Incursion and Exploration Department. And according to that department, all 4 of you have been cleared for operations into the Dreamscape, right? All 4 of you, right? They're all qualified, right? Okay, cool. Okay. And she starts kind of like opening up the files and starts kind of like handing out kind of like briefing packets, whatnot, and says, "Well, the 4 of you have been assigned for an operation. Don't worry, it's not till tomorrow. It's you'll have a chance to like take a breath. We won't spring these last minute. Oh God, does anyone have any water?"
You all right, kid?
I will give her some tea. I have a tea in a thermos, so yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll be alright. Sorry, I just ran. For some reason, conference room B2 is much too far away from conference room 2B. It's too much. And she like takes a tiny sip of tea. Okay. So
yeah, you should drink more.
Okay.
Because fluid's important. Your heart rate is up.
Okay.
You're new around here, aren't you, kid?
I just got transferred from ATF. This, it's a lot to get. It's a lot to get used to, I guess. Um, like, I've not even been to the Dreamscape. Honestly, I'm just here to send out orders. Have you all been to the Dreamscape?
Have
Not a
we?
lot.
That's up to yourselves if you've been to or not. Out of character. Like, tell me if you've been. You can say or you can lie to this lady if you want to.
I just don't know how much, like how long ago our agency discovered the ability to go there and how many missions they've sent people on. Like, is this old hat possibly, or is this like still a pretty new endeavor?
I would say we're kind of around the modern day, according to like the timeline here. I should double check. They found the Morpheus agency. There is a timeline, which is ridiculous. Let me double check. 'Cause there is like an actual answer to that question, and I want to be correct at that.
I mean, we're
Uh,
level 1, right? So we can't be very experienced, or is that more ephemeral? This is the
Yeah,
clearance.
yeah. I would say like the clearance kind of determines how experienced you are in a dreamscape. Mid 1970s was when this agency was founded. So around that time,
And when is it now?
it's modern day, give
Modern
or
day.
take like 5 years. So, but modern day.
I was looking at our pictures and I was like, okay, we're in like the 50s, some sort of space environment, the 60s. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of like that weird. You know how like in government buildings are so weird. You enter one, it feels like you're stuck in some time that's not yours. So weird. It's kind of like that feeling. That's why like, and I'm basing this from when I had to renew my immigration stamp and had to line up with a bunch of colorful characters and talk to a bunch of other colorful characters, all trying to figure out this ridiculous system, this bureaucracy. Does that make sense?
I think so.
But yeah, she's
What do you
looking at
think?
yeah, as much as government bureaucracy makes sense. So she's looking at all of you, expecting to like, yeah, you've all been to the Dreamscape, right? I've not really been.
I've been once or twice. I feel like it's maybe above your pay grade, kid. No
Sure.
offense.
None taken. I know what I'm good at. Sorry, Barbara, I saw you unmute there. Were you?
Uh, yeah, Barbara can't lie, so she says, well, this would be my first time.
Okay, well, it's just. I think she kind of just nods and then looks at Snooker, who is the burliest of them all in this table.
I mean, I've been a couple of times, but to be honest, I don't see what all the fuss is about. Nothing much happened.
Well, there might be a chance that nothing might happen in this operation. This is and she kind of like flips through her paper. She's quite nervous. This is what the agency is calling Operation Undertow. Nothing might happen here as well because you will be accompanying a senior agent to the field. Basically, the agency, and she kind of like goes into this like full trying to be professional mode but she's clearly reading from a script. In the Dreamscape, I don't know if you've heard this, and she looks at the projector because she really wishes she had a projector, and she kind of fumbles around her coat and she pulls out a tablet and starts flicking through it, and says, in recent news, there's been a wave of strange phenomena happening around in the art world, if you can believe it. There's been a bunch of different art gallery openings, and at the very least, 12 different artists produce the exact same work of art across from all over the globe. And she pulls out the tablet, and you see this like painting of what looks like this constricting like spiral sort of perfectly symmetrical spiral figure that's kind of like a whirlpool coming into the middle of this canvas frame. It's colored in shades of black and red, and Agent Day kind of nods and says, "A different like art collectors and archivists and artists and our own agency has confirmed that somehow these artists have produced the exact work of art from different kind of the same kind of brushstrokes, same kind of paint, all at the same time, and we found no evidence of collusion between them." So the agency sent a few incursions into Dreamscape to trace the source of this sort of psychic wave. I think there's a more technical term for it. A synchronicity event. Yes, I think that's what it's called. And we've traced the source in the Dreamscape. There is, and she kind of gestures to the papers, and you kind of see that like there is like some notes on a place called the Gallery in capitalized, not all caps, but like the Gallery. Apparently, it is a known structure in the near Dreamscape, and it has wandered. Yeah, it has wandered through the Dreamscape and has ended up in what looks like a place of permanent glitchiness. It's kind of like, there's a more technical term for that, but and apparently the feedback effect is kind of like causing this synchronicity event that's producing all these like weird symbols popping up in the waking world. Because the Gallery usually is kind of like a fixed point in the new Dreamscape, but because it has wandered into this like permanent glitching point, and here Agent Day is kind of like being more professional. She's had some tea. She's less hoarse. Says the Morpheus agency believes that if properly subjugated and corralled, the Gallery can be, well, what one would call an excellent jumping off point for the agency to dive deeper into the Dreamscape. We've not penetrated as much. She's saying we as if she's been here longer than y'all, but obviously she's not. We've only corralled so much of what they call the near Dreamscape, the layer afterwards. Yes?
Got a question. Do you think, and I mean by we, I mean you think that this glitchy thing is intentional, that somebody fixed the gallery in that point by intent and not just something that happened accidentally?
And she flips through her papers. There's belief that the glitching event is some sort of broken, it's some sort of tunnel from one layer of the Dreamscape to another. There's been no signs that the gallery has been unmoored from any certain point. It seems to have just wandered towards there. But there's so far we've had no signs that there's been any toward. So far, it's been put down as the natural currents of the Dreamscape. At least that's what reconnaissance has figured out for the moment.
So Agent HOYT sits straight up as being proud to remember something, and she says, well, I seem to remember that C.G. Jung referred to the collective subconscious that could affect artists in particular. So I assume that it might be a natural phenomenon.
So I'll try to pack some repair stuff for glitches and not for hacks. And I look at Snooker because he's the security guy and he might have some opinion on that.
Snooker obviously has no conception of the difference between a glitch and a hack. It's like it's all outside his area of expertise. He just knows he's been warned not to shoot things just because they look funny. So that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, that's like everyone's kind of on board. Here's kind of like the objectives. There are objectives. There's an agency operation. There has to be like objectives. You won't be going into the gallery alone. You will be escorting second clearance level Agent Day to the gallery, where they will endeavor he will endeavor to establish the agency's permanent presence there semi-permanently. Your job is to ensure that he does his job, protect him from any glitches or hacks or any incursions from rival agencies. Therefore, just you're there basically to escort him. And she says that as if like, I don't know, she doesn't know how y'all would react to that. Oh my gosh. You're muted, Pearl.
I was just apologizing that I forgot I had a virtual background on from before.
Okay, I thought that was intentional. That is a jaunty hat. So that's the objectives. The incursion point will be at, and she rattles like tomorrow's date at a specific time. And well, any more questions?
I mean, if we do think other agencies are involved, what are we authorized to do?
Well, there are rules of engagement, I suppose. The main thrust of Agent A's objective is to establish a presence there before anyone can do so. So one of the rules of engagement is to do not use violence that will be readily noticed. Basically, don't fire the first shots. In defense, you feel free to go loud, but the point is to just blend in for the moment. And the other rules of engagement is to ensure Agent A's safety. If he gets ejected before he can complete his job, well, it'll be much harder to come back to the gallery from that point.
Sure, thank you, Agent Turner. We'll see what I can do.
Okay, cool. So best of luck. And Semper Fi. Hey, and she almost does a salute, but she doesn't know what kind of salute. So it's just like a half form.
That Phi.
Fi. Oh, okay.
But we're not Marines.
Oh, okay. I just thought like I met Agent Day and he was like a former Marine, so I just thought everyone was gonna be a Marine.
Oh,
okay.
I haven't met Agent D.
Okay.
And any of you met him before?
I think in passing. Kid, you gotta chill out. You're too young for this level of stress in this job. Let me tell you. I seen cases like yours and they're out the door in like 6 months. You wanna have what it takes, you just gotta stay chill. And one way to do that is going and making a fresh pot of coffee, because this is disgusting.
Okay.
Coffee's not good for your heart rate anyway.
Yeah, I've been trying to give up the stuff. I've got some supplements instead.
It was better than the cocaine, you know? Trade-offs.
Well, there was like anyway. There was someone who tried to offer me, but I reported them to HR. Okay.
As well, you should.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, there's the objectives. And I think like we can fade away from there. I'm gonna ask before we kind of jump into going into incursion, because we've got like a day. I kind of want like a quick shot of each person's non-office life, just a very quick shot of where they go when, they go to bed, so to speak, or when they relax.
Well, Agent Bubbles, he comes from a sort of noir tradition. He went into this knowing it was going to be rough. He might see some things that he couldn't talk about. And was maybe an idealist when he was young, but by the time he got to this job, had been disavowed of any illusions. You know what I mean? So you see him go back to his like threadbare, minimally decorated, if at all, apartment. He's got like 3 cheap beers and a wedge of cheese in the fridge. And what he does, the main thing you can see in his apartment, other than his like cheap mattress and blanket that barely counts as a blanket, is a bunch of sketches. Like for all he's playing it off at work, he has a wall covered in sketches of things he's seen in the dream world, like overlapping each other, just like pasted everywhere. Because underneath all the gruffness, he's obsessed with the dream world and annoyed he hasn't been able to go more. And all of these people who don't seem to know what they're talking about and or are casual about it are not going to get him where he needs to go, which is deep, deep into the dream world to find out its secrets.
Hell yeah, that's a lovely detail. Who else has an idea of what their character's home life is?
Yeah, I think when Katsuo gets home, he drives a motorbike because I like the idea. He lives in an apartment that is scrupulously clean and maybe even a little antiseptic. He has lots of books which are filed very neatly. And when he goes home, he has a cat. That's the thing. He has a cat, a white cat with one blue eye and one yellow eye. And when he gets home, he starts first feeding the cat, then taking care of his houseplants, and then he gets on and starts on the phone probably, and starts talking to somebody who is either his brother or his boyfriend. It's not quite clear because he has like a very, have you drunk? Did you drink something? Have you eaten? Did you take your meds? Are you okay? What's going on with you? No, I really want to know. Yes, I care about you. Stuff like that. Yeah, and that's what he does to prepare for the incursion. He will also make a list of things you might eat or might not eat that would give you nightmares, that are said to give you nightmares, and we test this out on himself, of course, because you know, if you go into the dreamscape, you have to experiment.
God.
I think Agent Snooker goes out for a couple of beers with a few friends, and yeah, heads back to his apartment, which I think is fairly average, although quite Spartan, and proceeds to watch, you know, a handful of episodes from the latest stupid show on Netflix that he's watching.
That's incredibly relatable. I don't know why.
Yeah, Agent HOYT, I don't know. I think she probably has a fiancé that awaits her, and they have like this quiet dinner together, and she goes to bed early with a book about probably like agency book about like security details about what to do in the dreamlands and what not to do.
Hell of a lot of sense. All right, so we've been here for like an hour since we kind of came in. So let's take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we're jumping into the dreamscape. Cool. So we'll take 5. We'll see you in a bit. I'm gonna pause this recording. Hi. All right. Welcome back. Although I say that as if there was an actual break in between, and not because of the way Zoom recording works, that it's just gonna be instantly. We're gonna be gone. Welcome back. So there's no actual break. You're just anyone watching this. You're just gonna see me. You're gonna see me say we're taking a break, and then welcome back. But yeah, welcome back. Well, that's less for the viewers and more for the table here. Let's see, everyone's back.
Maybe you can cut a commercial into that.
Yeah, like Editing? I mean, I know some folks go the extra mile, but that's not me. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's move on. So I think, yeah, your mission time is like early morning. I say early morning, probably 9 o'clock or 8:30, that sort of thing. Just so like that's this is the one thing you all are gonna do, and I think yeah, you all know where to go, which is, or at least you know kind of that where you're meant to go, which is the place where they keep the FBPI machine. Um, the FBPI machine is kind of like it's the what's kind of like described as the best known way to access the dreamscape. Um, and I'm gonna make some changes to what's described in the book and in the player sheet because there's a description there, but because of some lines of veils, I'm gonna change it a bit differently. I think waiting outside of the room where you're all gonna be hooked up to this machine is Agent Day. He is kind of like I'm face casting him as the actor Daniel Kaluuya. You're one from Get Out. Popped up in Black Panther as well. He looks like what he looks like he belongs on an ad for this agency. Basically, he looks incredibly sharp. He looks resplendent. He looks like someone who'd tour colleges, giving talks about this agency, and he kind of looks at the four of you and he kind of gives you this he gives this bright smile and goes to shake all of your hands and just says, hi, I'm Agent Day, pleasure to meet you all.
Shaking hands is quite unsanitary. I will tell him as I shake his hand.
Well, given that, I was just availing myself of those, and he puts a thumb to like the hand sanitizer next to the wall. So no worries. I hope my grip is carefully sanitized for your pleasure. Anyway, should we truck on? He's like smiling and looking expectantly at like all four of you.
I mean, I'm game if they're not.
I have the same expression on my face as I always do.
Hoyt has a charming smile and nods.
All right. That's the gumption. He says that's the gumption. So when you kind of walk in, you see that like I'm imagining it's kind of like a low room, and you can see like a window up front where you can see like a bunch of like officials looking over some machines and whatnot. And there's like a row of beds, kind of like in front of you, and on each bed is kind of like there's a hookup next to a machine which kind of looks like an ordinary like anesthetic kind of machine. You plug a face mask on, you go to sleep. It looks normal. It looks like it wouldn't be out of place in a hospital, for sure. And we got these like they're not really beds, they're more like slabs, honestly. But actually, no, I think they're kind of no, they're comfier than that. They're comfier than slabs. The agency, as much as they have budget cuts regarding projectors, they'll make sure you all are a bit comfortable. So yeah, I think there are probably beds. And I think like as Agent Day is kind of like lying down and there are a bunch of technicians looking over the FBPI machines, I think he just kind of like calls out loud, so this is going to be my 20th incursion to the dreamscape. How about yourselves?
Third, I guess.
First, actually.
I think this is number 5 or 6 for me. I'm not quite sure.
I feel like it's hard to keep track of the dreamscape. Like, do you ever really leave it once you go in?
Well, for the first couple incursions, yes, I do feel that there was a part of me that was bringing work home, but I read this fine book, 20 Steps on Centering Yourself. I'll lend it to you, Agent Bubbles, if you need it.
Sounds like it could be a good thing. I'm not opposed.
All right, well, we'll make plans as soon as we finish this mission. But don't worry about yourselves. Just stick with me, and you'll learn all of this you need to learn more about what we do in the dreamscape. Sound good?
Sure.
All right. So I think they put you under, and I kind of want to know from each of you, how does it feel for your consciousness to like slide from the waking world into the dreamscape? How does that feel? Because I kind of don't want it to be like, a singular experience. I think everyone's different, so everyone feels it differently. And again, feel free to like jump in if you have an idea.
I think for KATSUO, it's like everything gets a bit elastic and jumbled around, and when he looks at things at first, his mind has a bit of a hard time to make sense of it, and there are these weird thoughts that go through his mind until he's ordered everything into something that makes some kind of sense again. Like he mostly has very weird sentence structures that would not mean anything if you said them in the waking world, and he has to figure out how to make sentences and words and thoughts work again in this dreamscape.
I think Snooker is really good at falling asleep. So, he has probably started to snooze even before the drugs or the mechanism has actually started to take effect. And when he opens his eyes inside the dreamscape, everything is weird, and he doesn't. But his brain is good at just like accepting things, because he's not that curious in terms of what the dreamscape is. So it's just weird, but fine. I'll just do my job.
Yeah, I think Hoyt, she closes her eyes and breathes in deeply and tries to, get into the meditative state. And I think she probably for some reason remembers like her first horse or something, like a pretty memory from being a teenager, and then is abruptly ripped off that I don't know, foresty place into the dreamscape.
Agent Bubbles has been waiting to go back for a long time, and he just very readily lets himself be taken away into the feeling of lack of reality that comes as you sink under. There's sort of the, I guess, liminal state between the dreamscape and our normal waking world. Although I guess maybe the dreamscape is also a liminal place, but whatever. And for him, time passes very slowly, and it's like he's just floating in a void, feeling various bodily sensations, letting images sort of pass through his brain and out again. And he wakes up in the dream world, but he doesn't know how long he's been gone.
Yeah, I think when all of you wake up in the dream world, it's very sudden, for sure. Yeah, the forest just kind of cuts, the floating bliss cuts, all this sentence kind of like confusion cut, and Snooker just being Snooker stays being Snooker. But I think when you come to, you're standing next to a street, and it's early evening. It looks like a fairly regular sort of, suburban sort of area. There's like, to your kind of left, there's like, cookie cutter clothing housing, as far as you can see, with like identical orange roofs stretching that way. You can see like the sun looks like it's just about to set. The sky is like this dusky orange turning to red. And I think like you hear Agent Day's voice just go, well, how's about for that? How did that dreamscape trip feel for y'all? And you kind of turn around because his voice is behind you. You can see like he's dressed in like this weird sort of 60s kind of fashion, kind of like the sweater vest Kind of like, you know, what if one of the Beach Boys had to go to college, sort of look. And he's carrying like this covered like sort of canvas, and you can see right behind him is the gallery. The gallery is what it says right there in the tin. It's a weirdly modern looking sort of art gallery. It's like all glass, and you can see inside that, like, you know, there's a bunch of walls almost kind of look like they're constructed to be floating, and there's a lot of paintings and art inside. Um, I'm gonna ask our surveillance agent, Agent Bubbles. Everything kind of looks pristine. It looks like, you know, late evening, oh no, early evening sort of night to go to an art gallery. But what's like a tiny detail that feels just a bit, you know, it's a bit off. You know, it's a bit kind of like on the tip of your tongue. You can't really quite tell, but
I get the feeling like nothing's actually moving that I can tell yet, but I get the feeling that the paintings aren't static. Like they could move. They're just choosing not to.
I will say there are people inside the art gallery. You can see that, like in the glass, there are people kind of like,
I don't know if they're noticing the same thing. Like I said, the paintings look still like any other paintings, but they have. You know how when you look at an animal that's very muscular, you can see the potential for movement in its muscles? Like if they just let go of that potential energy, they could spring into action. That's how the paintings feel. Like they're just waiting for the right moment to become more animate.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool detail. I'm gonna write that down in a minute, because I think like when you kind of like all turn around to see him, and he's kind of carrying the canvas, and he's like, okay, so details. Basically, I'm gonna go in there and basically make a deal with the art gallery to place a little piece of work cooked up by yours truly. And well, y'all's job is to just make sure that nothing interferes with the plan. This place is kind of, it's drifting to a place where people would notice, other people besides the agency. So basically, y'all are my security detail. Sound good?
What do you mean by drifting?
And I think like he kind of like points at like the sky, and I mean it looks like a sky moving, you know, like it looks like actually no, he points at a certain direction in the sky, and you can see in that dark red, in the dark red that is the sky, which I think y'all would notice is kind of like the same color as the painting that's been beamed out to the waking world. You can see like the tiniest hint of purple kind of like in the distance, and it's like, it's not like the sky is going to turn purple, it's like a tiny dot. And he says, once this gallery kind of like goes that a ways, there's a very good chance we won't be able to, well, establish ourselves here. It's think of like this layer as like an ocean. Lots of things drift on the ocean. Cup of siphon cup, maybe a box or two. In this ocean, even buildings can drift. All right, so I'm gonna make a deal. Y'all make yourself comfy in this art gallery and just make sure that everything's, you know, tight.
Before Agent Hoyt enters the building, she tries to establish a connection with control.
Okay.
Agent,
What does that look like?
Well, she has a handheld telephone, which sounds suspicious. Not like a mobile phone, but I imagine it being like an old school black, what is it called? Like with the
Rotary.
disc. Rotary
telephone. Yeah.
Telephone.
Yeah.
So
With a wine.
it's quite substantial, and it has the earpiece, and yeah, she lifts up the the earpiece and, you know, types in the numbers and tries to establish connection. HOYT to control.
I think you get like a very smart kind of, that kind of voice you get from a service center. Control here.
We have entered the dreamscape. Roger.
Fabulous. Keep us in touch. Is there anything Control can do for you at this moment?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Right. Keep us in touch. Yeah, Sabine. Yeah, Roger. Exactly like those droids. Cool. Oh, I should point out one thing for you, Hoyt, because this is kind of important, and this is the thing whenever you contact Control, and this one's a freebie. Whenever you contact Control to change something, you will generate a point of interference, which we're going to keep track in the roll for your party as a token. Basically, that whenever I have to roll for a strange thing in some table, each token is a +1. And for every 3 tokens, something weird is going to happen of a very specific table. So keep that in mind. That contacting Control and making a request from Control each add a point. So you can contact Control for info, and then you can make a request. Those would be 2 points. There are other ways to generate interference, but I'm not allowed to tell you. It says so in the book. I'm sorry. So watch out for that. Okay. So when you all kind of enter the art gallery, I kind of want to know like what's kind of like sorry, there's a lot of establishing stuff here, so we'll probably just get to the meat of the mission next time. But like when you kind of like come in, I kind of want to know what's immediately, because Agent Day is kind of like going to stride up towards like the steps. I imagine this art gallery has like 3 floors, and it's kind of like that weird art gallery, you can kind of see everything. And I'm not deliberately defining the entire of it because I imagine this place is going to change a bit as time goes on. But like, I think he starts ascending up the stairs, but I kind of want to know what each of your characters kind of like, what's their like demeanor and reaction as they kind of enter this art gallery.
I think Hoyt is really interested in the art itself, so she will mimic the typical gallery visitor. Have her hands behind the back, and take a step back and take a step forward. Look at the description of the art piece.
Like I said, you're not the only ones here. There's a bunch of folks in various fashions, but they're mostly around like 60s, 70s, preppy Beach Boys kind of fashion. They're admiring all these paintings and whatnot. So you're all not alone in this art gallery, for sure. What about the other 3?
Do you want to go ahead, Pearl? No, okay. I think Snooker is a little bit annoyed with Day for entering the gallery without them being able to clear it first. So he is following hot on Day's footsteps and basically just trying to eyeball everyone in the vicinity. And I think when Hoyt stops to look at a painting, it's like, Hoyt, eyes out. The paintings aren't going to jump us, Yeah, obviously they are at some stage, but he doesn't know that.
I'll come back to you at that point, Snooker. It sounds like that sounds like a roll.
Okay.
Try to proceed the roll, but we'll come back to that. I want to see what KATSUO Agent Bubbles are kind of like the reactions and demeanor to this place.
I mean, I think KATSUO is mostly keeping his eyes open, looking at stuff, looking at people. What he's actually looking for, though, is the painting, the inspiration for that painting that showed up in the galleries, because that has to be somewhere here, because that was in the briefing and got people to notice that, and he feels it might be relevant. So he's not super searching for it or anything, but he's keeping his eyes open. Just got more than one.
Agent Bubbles.
I'm looking for a painting that nobody else is looking at because I want to see if I can figure out if I'm right about them being able to move or being interactive or whatever in some way. So if there's like a a corner that nobody's paying attention to with a boring painting or something. That's what I'm looking for.
This sounds like a series of roles. I'm gonna start with snooker. So we get to see how roles work in this game. So basically, the referee, which is me, will tell you when to roll and what sort of role to make. So it's kind of like, so it's a bit different from like story games or PBTA, where you kind of like tell me when you're kind of like you're doing something that's uncertain, and I'll kind of like decide like there's an uncertainty here. I'm gonna get you to make a roll, and that will help define what that uncertainty is. So dice rolls are normal, reckless, or careful. Normal is general like it's the state of things when you're kind of like just doing stuff. Careful is when you're doing things slower, more methodical, just like making sure that you're doing this right. And reckless is you're prioritizing speed, raw power, and aggression. You're improvising. Think of it like in Forge in the Dark. They're basically controlled, risky, and desperate for those who played those games. With the difference is that normal, you just roll once. With careful, you roll twice and take the lower, which you want because you want to roll below your vital statistics to succeed. With reckless, though, you will roll twice and take the higher. And one last thing I want to add before we start rolling are heart rates. Everyone starts at 70 beats per minute. Add that to your current heart rate that's in the character sheet. There should be there should be at the top under experience. So everyone starts at 70. Every time you make a roll, you add the result to your current heart rate. So if you roll a 20, you're gonna add that. You roll a 10, you're gonna add that. So rolling is tricky. So it's always there's a bit of gambling there, especially if like, do you want to get to your optimum heart rate, or so because getting to your optimum heart rate is good, but you don't want to go near to your maximum heart rate. So we'll keep that in mind when y'all are rolling. Does that sound good? If anyone has questions, I'll rehash all those for your benefit. But yeah, so let's cut back to snooker. So you're sticking near Day, is what you said.
Yeah, and you said he was like walking quite deliberately to where he needs to go, and I guess I'm not panicked or especially like there's no obvious dangers. So this, I don't know, is this careful?
Yeah, I'd say this is careful.
Okay.
And you're going to be rolling. Well, the thing is, you're kind of using. You're trying to perceive and make sense of the world. So this is going to be with intelligence. This is going to be an intelligence check.
Makes sense. So I roll 2d20, right?
Yes.
And take the better result? Okay.
Yes. And you only add one result to your heart rate. You don't add both.
Yeah. Okay. I got a 3 and an 11. So I guess a 3 is a success.
Hell yeah. What is your... Oh my gosh, your intelligence is 7, but you did it.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah. So, okay, here's kind of like what you see as you kind of like stand your I think like even like Day shoots you like a remark saying, "Oh, I'm not going sightseeing, Agent Snooker." But I think you're busy like scoping out the scene. So I think here's kind of like what you see. Agent Day is walking up the stairs, and you're walking along with him, and you see that like he's beelining towards this this lady, let's say this like heavyset like black woman who's holding like a clipboard, and is waiting very expectantly. And I think they see each other and they kind of like smile. So like, oh yeah, we've established this, and they shake hands and start talking kind of like legalese, but the legalese kind of like bounces off you, Snooker, because you're busy scoping out the world. Tell me what exactly you're like looking out for.
I guess people who are looking at us, people who are looking at Day, especially trying to look at this interaction on the steps. Like, I'm kind of ignoring people who are looking at the paintings. They were. I'm trying to see people who are looking out for us.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing you notice. No one else is looking at Agent Day or this lady he's talking to. All the people are just looking at the paintings. And then you notice that all they're doing is just looking at the paintings. some of them are going, and they talk to each other. But then you notice you're hearing a general murmur, but you're not hearing any voices come from any of them. They're just kind of like, and then I think there is like a very specific like couple behind where Agent Day and Slade are talking. They're looking at this painting. It's like it's a what looks like a collection of flowers, but it's like a bunch of smears that's made to look like flowers. It looks like someone threw a bunch of like paintballs into a canvas and then shaped the colors around to look like flowers. And you see one of them nod to the other, these two ladies. Another person kind of like go like that. And then they start repeating the motion. And then they do that again. And and you start seeing that like there's a lot of people here who are just like kind of standing in front of paintings, just doing the motions.
So these are like part of the construct. These are like what you would expect to see in a gallery, or is it something?
It's off. It's a miss because the lady in front of you, she looks like she's fine, but I'll give Siri because it was a success. Like it's you can certainly make that conclusion, but I mean you're not that dumb. I think you can probably make the case that like something's off, and not just dreamy weemy stuff. Like it's like it feels like everyone who's in front of a painting is like just there. Yeah, it could be a construct, but I think to you it feels off. Like maybe
like they are dreamers trapped here or something like that.
Like no, I think with your training, and I'll give you this because you're an agent. No, dreamers in a dreamscape, they'd have more control than these folks. It feels like they're either decoration or they've been placed there by someone.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, what you do with a decoration. So what I just said is a meaningless distinction. But definitely, no one is looking, which is also kind of like weird because you were told to expect arrival.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we do our earpiece communicators work in this location?
Yes,
okay.
All of you can talk to each other at all times.
So maybe I can pass along this observation to the others.
Also, make sure to not lose your in-ear communicators because that's kind of what's feathering you into the dreamscape from the waking world. So watch out for those. Okay, so let's go to Katsuo. The order I'm going to go to is like Katsuo to Agent Bubs to Agent Hoyt. Does that work? Cool. So Katsuo, what were you up to?
I was, as I said, I was keeping an eye out for stuff that was weird, or was threatening more that, or just taking in the landscape, I guess. But what I was specifically looking for was the inspiration for that painting that was in the briefing.
Yes. So I think that's another intelligence check.
Yeah, is that careful, or because I'm not really wandering off or anything, and I'm trying to keep it to keep.
Yeah, I think careful. It has to be a bit more deliberate. You have to be like being careful. You're being methodical with what you're doing.
Okay, all right. Then I'll just roll one die, right?
Okay.
Cool. Hey, I've rolled over my intelligence, so it was a 17.
Okay. Wow. So you even a fail, you add that to your heart rate. Apologies.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
well,
so
I'm almost at. Yeah, so high rolls are bad, right?
Yes, you want to roll underneath your statistics, and also high rolls are bad because you add that to your heart rate.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I think Katsuo, you're wandering around, and I think hold on, let me look at your stuff.
I was specifically saying I wasn't wandering around.
Oh,
I was
yes,
following Day and Snooker.
Okay. Yes.
I was just looking around, not wandering.
Okay. Yes.
Or maybe I am wandering because I've lost train of thought. That's possible.
Yeah, because I think on the corner of your eye, I think you see the painting. It's
cool.
Deep, dark, red and black spiral. And I think, okay. I think I'm gonna have you make a save.
Cool.
This is gonna be against hacking.
Okay, do I want to roll Over or under?
You're gonna want to roll over for saving.
Okay, so I want to roll 16 or better.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so saving throws are mostly something you probably won't make. No, of
Yeah.
course not.
Yeah.
Didn't make it.
Oh, what'd you roll?
A 2.
Okay.
Do I add that to my heart rate?
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm at my optimum heart rate. That's nice.
Okay.
Should have rolled the other way around.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So, so you managed. Okay. So you didn't make that save. Okay.
No.
So I think yes, your eyes are gonna be drawn to the painting, and you're just gonna start walking towards it. If that's okay. I think
Yeah.
like you see it, and I think it starts moving away from you. This wall where the painting is, and I think because it has like, it has you kind of like, not ensorcelled, but like,
Hypnotized.
yeah, it's interested. Yeah, there's the painting. That's the one that's been cast out into the waking world. I think you are gonna like keep following it. I want
Yes.
you to add under your ongoing complications, mesmerized by the painting.
Okay.
We'll just keep that in mind. That's kind of like a condition. And I think you're gonna have to make a roll to like get out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see where it takes you when we come back to you. Agent Bubs, you said you want to be left alone, or want to look like want to be left alone.
There's the mute button. It's not that I want to be left alone so much as that I want to find a painting that's being left alone, so that I can investigate it without these weird repeaty people being around.
Okay, I think I don't think you can see that. I don't think I need to make your roll for that, because you have a definite thing you want to find. Okay, I think okay. So I think you see this painting that's kind of like been left alone, and you recognize it almost immediately because I think, what's the most recent drawing you made of the dreamscape?
I think it's a castle, a turret with a window in the shape of a fish eye.
Ooh, that's really neat. It's really neat because I think you see it as a painting, kind of blown up. Looks gorgeous. Like
Much better than my sketch, I have to say.
if you want to say so. So I think, yeah, that if that kind of draws your eye, and I think like you hear kind of like a voice kind of behind you go, "Oh, are you interested in this painting? Do you have any interest in this painting?" I think like behind you see like someone who's kind of like dressed in a very nice blazer, and they've kind of like their hair done up in a nice brown like bun. They've got like these kind of severe looking glasses, but their smile is kind of offsetting that. And they have a name tag on their blazer. It just says Jesse, and underneath they them please. Um, and they're like, "Is there anything particular you want to know about this painting? It's quite unique, I think." And they almost reach into their coat pocket, and it's like, no, it's fine.
I think I'd like a little time to look more on my own, Jesse, but thank you.
Okay.
You'll be around the gallery?
Yes, I'll be here to provide any help or information to anyone who's interested in any of the works here in the gallery.
Wonderful. Then I'll come find you in a little while, probably.
Okay. I'll give you something you notice here. You can tell they're not a repeaty person. They're an actual like person, much like
I
yourself.
kind of figured since they were talking.
Yeah.
And I do actually intend to find them later. That's not just a blow off.
Okay.
But I'd like to figure out what's happening with the paintings first, because that way, when I talk to them, I'll have a better idea of whether they're telling the truth
Okay.
and things.
Okay. So, oh yeah, you wanted to find out if the paintings can move.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we see? How does Agent Bubs kind of like try to figure that out? Looking at this painting that is a lot like what he created.
I imagine he could use his skill, the one he has at the moment, of seeing through disguises, which we established also meant illusions,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So using a technique is always successful with no roll required. You just add 10 beats per minute to your heart rate.
Okay.
Um, what does that look like when you peer through all disguises?
What do I look like doing it, or what does it look like what I'm seeing?
Yeah, what does it look like? What do we see when you kind of like when you activate this? I suppose.
It's really subtle,
Mhm.
but the eye blinks once, and the grass at the base of the tower briefly ruffles as though there were a light breeze.
Mm. Yeah, I think. Yeah, when you blink, like you kind of see outside. You kind of see like the world kind of like around this gallery because like you're seeing a bit through the hazy layer, and you can see that yeah, you're in this art gallery. It's kind of drifting through this weird kind of void, and you can see that like that purple streak. There is like a hole somewhere in the distance, kind of like beyond the art gallery. But you're looking at this painting, and yeah, it does have that energy, right? It does feel like it could come alive if you like just give it a spark. Because I think you see the painting is kind of like being projected to like this like thin sort of line. It's kind of like white line that goes away somewhere in the dreamscape, but then you see kind of like going next to you or no into you. At least you see that the line is coming towards you. And I think you can
Mm.
kind of it can and you see if you look around all the other paintings, they have these kind of like lines. It's like they're being projected um,
Towards whoever's looking at the paintings, or just in general?
from where they came from, is what you surmise.
Okay.
Because this is your painting, this is your image, and it's made its way to this gallery. And I think if you look around, you see, well, there's Katsuo. Um, their their movement is weird. It's like they're moving through the gallery, at least from your perspective, and they're following a painting, but the line is the deep dark red. Everything else is like white, but the line to that painting is red, and it looks like Katsuo is going down.
Katsu's going down.
That's
Can
fine.
I just get a quick, where is everybody at this moment? We've moved around a bit and I've lost track of who, like someone went following someone up some stairs, I think, and then
Yes.
I've lost track a bit.
Yeah. So Agent Snooker Donna is with Agent Day. Katsuo is chasing after this painting, going wherever, and we're gonna cut to Agent Hoyt after yourself, and we'll find out where she is.
Okay. I'm going to try to reach my hand into the painting and see what happens.
Okay. All right. This is going to be a check of some sort. This sounds like willpower. This
Okay.
is kind of like it's not exactly brute force, but it's for a simple focused activity, and it's kind of like, all right, let's see what happens. So you're gonna roll a d20, 2d20, and you could want to roll under your will.
My will is, where'd it go?
15.
15. 2d20. Well, that's going to be hard to do with 2 d20s.
Oh, just one d20.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
That makes it not as horrifying. And oh, it's the dog. Sorry. Nah, I can do things. I can.
No worries. Nice.
I got a 2.
Hell yeah. So first add that to your current heart rate. And you succeeded because you rolled under your vital statistics of will. Yeah. So what's your aim when you reach into this painting?
Well, it's my painting, and I've been seeing it in my head, presumably, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I assume it has some personal significance for me that may give me some insight onto things. So if I can get one hand into it, I could presumably climb into it and maybe explore the landscape therein.
Ooh.
So the arm is just the testy technique to see, can you get into the painting at all?
and you succeeded. So you reach in, and yeah, it's like it's like you notice when you look at the painting, it's like a 3D image. There's a
Mhm.
depth in it. The moment you like your hand reaches into, like, oh, holy shit, it's not a flat image now. You're staring into it. You can go in if you want to. And I'm gonna ask before we cut to Agent Hoyt, do you?
I think what I do, and I'll probably climb in either way, but I'm going to look over my shoulder and see if I can catch Agent Hoyt's eye and kind of give a quick nod, because I don't necessarily want to let everyone in the gallery, real humans or not, know what's going on, and invite them to come over. Whereupon I would like demonstrate the arm thing and see if they would come into the painting with me.
Cool. I want to know like what Agent Hoyt is doing before Agent Bubs beckons them. What are you up to, Agent Hoyt?
Yeah, so Hoyt was after she entered the museum, she went straight to the first picture on the left, and was trying to blend in. And I don't know if she has realized after some time that the other visitors are behaving in a repetitive way or not.
Oh dear. I think if you want to like blend in, and the danger is that like you might be noticed trying to blend in, or call more attention to you. I think this is gonna be a check as well. I think this is a charisma check.
Okay, let's see. My charisma is 7. And I rolled. Did I roll an 18? No, last roll is a 2. So I have to re-roll. It's a 3. Yay!
Wow!
Yay.
Oh my
Incredible.
gosh, you did it! So
OMG. So I
that's
add this to the heart rate
yes.
and I blend in with the computer people.
Yeah, I think here I'll give you something for blending in. You hear kind of like gears inside
From the people?
from the people next to you
Oh,
that
wow.
you're staring at. You kind of like you hear the clack of as they kind of like raise it up and go, You notice everyone's doing the because I can't think of another thing for people in the art gallery to do besides go
That is what people do.
Yeah, so exactly. That whoever put these people there, that's what they thought. People go,
And so I think in the beginning, Hoyt was doing the same thing, but then felt silly after a short time, after realizing that the rest are clockwork people. And then she turns around and tries to see where everyone is, and probably catches Bubbles' eyes. I don't know if she would realize that KATSUO is in some kind of trouble. Is that obvious?
No, I only gave it to Agent Bobs because that's part of their surveillance technique.
Yeah.
Because they could see through the illusions. So they saw Katsuo going someplace that's hard to follow.
Yeah, but I can see I can see where they are at least. So I see Snooker being. Is it upstairs?
Yeah, but I'm imagining it's like an open sort of plan sort of place, so you can't see like 3 flights up. Snooker.
I got the impression that say they and this woman were on the next floor, but maybe Snooker is halfway up and like looking down at the rest of the gallery people.
And then she would walk up to Bubbles.
Wait.
Bubbles, this is a weird place. Have you noticed that the other guests are not real?
Yeah, it's kind of handy actually, because they're unlikely to get in our way. Now, play it cool like we're just having a chat, but check this out. And I reach just a few fingers into the painting to demonstrate and pull them back out.
Isn't that like dangerous?
Well, I don't know why it's more dangerous than anything here in the dreamscape. I didn't really go into this for security.
That's true, but you're not trying to, use this as a door or something.
More like a window.
Well, we have a objective. We have to protect Day.
Isn't that what Katsuo and Snooker are doing?
Well, it's what we all are doing. I mean, as soon as we're sure that they did whatever they're supposed to do, then we can have a peek into the window.
I just wonder, I mean, we don't know what could come out of these things. If we can go into them, presumably things could come out as well, and it might behoove us to take some preemptive action to scope out what the real scene is here.
You are the veteran. This is my first mission. Is that what we do?
Well, it's the dreamscape. There isn't a one thing we do, really, because the dreamscape changes all the time. Right?
Roger that.
I think we have to trust our intuition. If you want to go after Snooker and Katsuo, I don't blame you, and that is a perfectly valid course of action as well. I'm not sure there are that many non-valid courses of action here, which is why I like this place.
Well, I would like to be the tether, like to have everyone in my field of vision, that in case we have to abort, I can press the red button.
Okay.
And I would hate for you to disappear into the window where I can't see you.
Oh, I could stay between here and the tower. Just take a look around, then you could see me.
You're the boss.
Well, depends who you ask, but have we already lost sight entirely now of Snooker and Katsuo? Have they gone?
No. I think we're close to like wrapping up. So I think we're gonna like end with like a bunch of shots of each person. And in the TV show of this, I think what we're seeing is like what looks like a bunch of CCTV monitors, and they're cycling through each like shot. I will say for you, Bubs, you can still see Snooker up there, but and Hoyt can, but Hoyt can't see Katsuo, but you can because you still got the surveillance thing on. So I think like when you cycle through, we see in the CCTV footage, Snooker, you're standing guard, and I think you hear like the sound of paper being ripped up, and you see that like Day is opening up the painting that he's hoping to like put up, but you notice, Snooker, that like his smile's a bit gone. He looks like he's sweating a bit, and this lady in front of him is kind of like tapping incessantly on a clipboard, just kind of like, and she's looking less eager about this. And then we cycle to a shot of Katsuo. This gallery's fucking weird. I think when you see like you think you see the painting, but when you get up there, painting's not there. But it's always at the corner of your eye, that red splotch. And actually, I should cycle back to Snooker. What's your expression when you're kind of like where you are, Snooker?
I guess the ripping up of paper or poking at stuff is not the usual course of negotiations I expect. So I'm maybe like taking one or two steps further up the stairs to where Day is, just trying to get some kind of an inkling from him if he's still like in control of himself or this negotiation or
whatever. I think we'll find out exactly what he's saying next time.
Yeah.
But it ain't great. I'll say that. Katsuo, what's kind of like, what do we see of you and your expression as you're still looking after this painting?
I think you'll see some sort of calculation going through Katsuo's face because, okay, he cannot read the painting, that he realizes that, but he has to. He has not lost the compulsion, but you need to go about this a bit differently. There are other paintings here, right? And some of them are red.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if we can't make them into the painting that he's looking for.
Oh yeah, we'll find out the results next time. What do we see? I think Agent Hoyt and Agent Bubbles. You're the two of you are still standing like on the precipice. I kind of want to end on like what the two of you kind of say to each other, before anyone makes a decision.
I think my suggestion to Agent Hoyt would be that if she can get Snooker and Katsuo and what's his nose over here, we should probably demonstrate that the paintings aren't what they seem before people start chasing after them and touching them and whatever else, right? Like they're after this painting because of this compulsion, but like it could be dangerous.
And Hoyt immediately puts her finger on her earpiece and says, Hoyt to Snooker and Katsuo, checking in. Everything okay?
I think we end on a shot of you doing that, Hoyt, but it's from the perspective of a CCTV camera, circling, kind of like zooming in as you say, "Come in, come, come in, Agent Snooker, Katsuo, come in," and then we kind of get a shot of these like CCTV monitors, and this shadowy figure just like press a button. When they press a button, cut the credits. And we'll see what the results are next time. Anyway, for everyone who's watching this, thanks very much if you made it here to the end. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. There's a link for all the Gauntlet stuff there and for this game, Deep Morphean Transmissions, for everyone who wants to check that out. We'll do a debrief of Stars and Wishes after when I finish this recording, but I always want to get it out here in recording that these are just some, I love these are some fun characters to like put in a ridiculous government agency. They're fun. I can't wait to see more of them. That's always the annoying thing with the session one. There's a lot of like bedding in, but yeah, love the bedding in. So I'm gonna stop this recording and I'll say goodbye to YouTube. Bye, folks.